I'm JD Green. I've been a face on the radio in Vermont for well over 20 years. And although I've loved my career in radio, I had a vision about bringing my connection to the community to a different platform, to social media, where I could create a blueprint of a podcast that's something constantly evolving, knowing that there's always room for new experiences and learning, discovery, exploration, new questions to ask, and answers to be sought after. A program without limitations, but still with intention to tell a more in-depth story behind what makes us tick, what inspires us, what makes us realize that the what and when is only secondary to the how. And it's the how and the why that I want to uncover. It's my hope with this podcast that I can inspire, inform, that we can learn together and tell the bigger stories behind our lives. That's our story. My real story off the air. I'll try to push the boundaries, arouse your curiosity, and ask the questions you want answers to. Maybe questions no one's asked. The good and the not so good. What's going on in Vermont as well as across our great country. Things you'll agree with, things you might not. It's my hope to laugh with you, cry with you, entertain and enlighten you, but mostly learn with you. Please make sure to support your local public access TV station, subscribe to my YouTube podcast, Aired Out, engage by sharing your comments, and invite your friends to be part of it too. Thanks for tuning in. This is Aired Out. And a very good evening. I'm JD Green. Thanks so much for tuning in to Aired Out, my YouTube podcast that took off January 1st here at Central Vermont Television Studios in Barre, the Granite City of Vermont, and doing quite well. So excited to bring you another broadcast. Our sponsors, CBDcrave.com, the quality you deserve delivered right to your door. Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire. Fontaine Forestry and Millworks of East Montpelier, right there on Route 14, just down from Bragg Farm. And again, CVTV, Public Access Television, Channel 192 and 194. It is with great pleasure, and I am so excited to bring on the show right now by telephone, Kelly. Is it Accetta? Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
I am saying it right. And you are basically, Kelly, a life coach, especially for the ladies. Is it only for the ladies?
I am. I'm very exclusive to my girls right now. We've got lots going on, and I've been working with women all over the world for about 20 years, 25 years, and my girlfriends just have a place in my heart. So
Yeah.
yes.
So what's the deal now? You're chatting to us right now from Dallas, Texas?
Yes, I live in Dallas, Texas, originally from Los Angeles. Dallas has been my home now for about 24 years, and just really have enjoyed living here. It's been my home, and just it's kind of central to get me all over the world when I need to be.
Boy, I tell you, life coaching is just taking off still. I mean, there is such an upswing on this. So many of us need it. And, you know, I've got friends who have opted out of the therapy and going for the life coach instead.
Yeah, JD, it really makes sense. You know, any athlete that truly wants to reach his or her full potential always has a coach, no matter how successful they are. Tiger Woods still has a coach because they can call us out. They can hold us accountable. And, you know, I say this all the time. The easiest person I could lie to in my life was myself. I always bought it. And when you've got a life coach that that calls foul when you're trying to use an excuse of why you can't achieve something, it's just powerful.
Sure.
When you give him that permission.
Sure. So, listen, especially the fact that you're dialed into the ladies, why is Valentine's Day so critical for us guys to get it right?
I think most women, they just they show a lot more of their nurturing. Now, not all women, but most women have a real nurturing side, and they just love on the people in their life all year long. We don't need a specific day. And I think for a lot of women, they tend to want that one day, that Valentine's Day,
Right.
to just be that day where they feel all that love that they feel they've poured out for the year kind of given back to them.
Yeah.
And of course we love to love on the ones we love on Valentine's Day, but I think that's why women just love that holiday more so than men.
So what's this trending thing now that I'm just hearing about? Maybe I've been in the dark for a little while here, but I'm just hearing now about this new trend called Galentine's Day.
Yes, JD, it is.
Is this for real?
Actually, it's the best fake holiday you'll ever have. There's all sorts of holidays out there now, National Pizza Day or National Coffee Day. Galentine's Day is the best made up holiday to ever come around. And it's actually celebrated on the 13th of February. And it was created of all things from a TV show called Parks and Recreation.
Oh,
And the character on there, Leslie Knope, just created a trend. She did an episode and it was called Galentine's Day, and it was about 10 years ago, and it just has caught on because, like I shared with you, we as women love to love on the people we love. And so it just gave all of us women an opportunity to love on our girlfriends and love on anyone, our moms, our brothers, anyone that we loved, in our life, anyone that we have a lot of love for. It just gave us permission to show that. And again, women, we don't need an excuse to show love, but Galentine's Day was just sort of an official launch of us being able to buy our girlfriends a meal, or an excuse to go out to lunch or spend some time together. And it's really caught on.
and now there's like Galentine events now.
Oh, yes.
Restaurants are jumping on board. So, did Galentine's Day exist last year, or is this something that was just created just over the last couple of months?
No, actually, it was created. I think the episode aired around 2010.
Oh,
So
that long.
Galentine's Day has been around for almost 10 years.
All
And
right, so I've been in the dark for 10 years, Kelly. Is that what you're saying?
that's okay.
Wow.
It has taken a while to catch on nationally, but it is definitely something that most women have just absolutely adopted as something that they do on a yearly basis. And I know myself, after I went through a divorce, it was really nice to do my Galentine's celebration on Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
on that day that most everyone's out there with that special someone in their life. It was nice to have an opportunity to just hang with my girlfriends and just let them love on me and I love on them, and just laugh. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I talk about in my book a lot, especially in the chapter Mommy Guilt, is we women really take on so much, and we just need to refresh and fill our tank, per se. We're pouring into everybody all the time, our kids, our jobs, our husbands, or our significant others. And if we don't stop to refill our tank, we just don't function at our peak performance. And something like Galentine's Day is just the perfect opportunity to refill our tank. It's the perfect opportunity to just laugh and have fun with our girlfriends. And, a lot of people realize, a lot of women realize that, men kind of come and go throughout our life. And our girlfriends, I have some of my girlfriends have been in my life for 30 years. Some of my girlfriends have been in my life for 40 years. And without going any further, because then you'll know how old I am, but um, you know, these relationships have been with me for a very long time, and they're real relationships that I love to have the opportunity to celebrate.
So you don't have to be, and when I first heard about this, I thought this was the case, but it's not necessarily true. You don't have to be, this isn't a holiday for the single ladies or ladies that have just recently broken up who are at home and sad on Valentine's Day. This is just in general for the ladies to get out there and embrace Valentine's Day instead of it being mostly one directional from the man to the female.
It's really just an opportunity for women to celebrate the other relationships in their life,
Male
and
or
mainly
female,
their
yeah.
girlfriends.
Yeah.
And men, there's also men that are out there celebrating Galentine's Day, and
Sure.
they celebrate their work wives, or people, the women that are in their lives that support them, or their friends. And so there's actually a lot of men that celebrate Galentine's Day nowadays as well.
Isn't that something else? This is quite the phenomenon here, and it's certainly gone mainstream as you and I have been chatting. So, the National Retail Federation, I don't know if you heard this, they're saying last year about 63% of us celebrated Valentine's Day, and this year it's down to 51%. I think probably, and I'm guilty of this just as so many guys are. I think the biggest mistake that we make is that we put more pressure on us than I think we need to for Valentine's Day. There's not all the ladies out there are looking for jewelry and expensive restaurants. Sometimes the simpler things, just to show that you love somebody, is enough. And you can, I think it's, am I right saying that it's more important to the ladies if you're putting some thought behind what you're doing than it is you're spending money?
Absolutely, JD. And I think probably most women would agree that if something like a letter, if someone sat down and wrote a letter of just thanking the woman in their life for all that they do, and acknowledging some of the things that, especially, you know, uh, if you're married to a mom, I mean, she is just doing so many thankless tasks
Sure.
every single day. And for a man in our life to sit down and take the time to say thank you for tirelessly, loving on our children, and taking care of me, and I just, even a note, but more importantly, most of my friends, we've talked about this, we just want time, undivided time. In this day and age, it's so crazy with everything pulling at us. We've got social media, the TV, work, kids. There's just so much pulling at us in different directions, that if the man in our life was to just clear the night, put the phone away, and just focus 100% of their attention on us. And it could just be going on a bike ride, or it could be going, doing something fun, where not a movie, when we want to talk to you.
Yes.
But just getting 100% of uninterrupted, focused time and attention. That doesn't cost a thing. And I guarantee you, most women would absolutely love it. And that's again why girlfriends for women are so important. It's because a lot of times men and women are very different in the regard that we like to talk about things. We like to talk through things. And sometimes men get home from work and there you don't want to talk. And
Sure.
so to have the ability for us to have a great deep conversation with you and have your full attention, that for most women is enough. We just love to connect with the men that we love, and feel loved and cherished, and it doesn't take a whole lot of money to do that.
So you're not only a life coach out there in Dallas, but you're also an internationally recognized speaker, and you are the author of a new book, How to Defuse the Landmines We Plant in Our Lives. What is
Yes.
that all about? That sounds interesting.
Well, as I kind of referred to earlier, life's already hard enough, and unfortunately, most of us women tend to make it even harder for ourselves. And there's already lots of landmines, if you will, in our life that is out there because of our jobs, our bosses, our kids' school, things that are going on that we have no control over that cause us stress or cause problems in our lives. But the landmines that I talk about in my book, each chapter is a different landmine and how to diffuse it. A landmine, one of the insecurity landmine, the victim mentality landmine, the
Mm.
gossiping landmine, the bitterness and unforgiveness landmine, mommy guilt. All of these things are things that we actually do to create stress and rob our lives of joy and peace. And so, after training women, like I said, for 25 years all over the world, it didn't matter where I was, if I was in Asia or if I was in Europe, it didn't matter. Women were just struggling with the same things, and it was robbing them of their joy. And that's where I was just inspired to sit down and write this book to say, you know what? Gossiping might seem like it's no big deal or that it's harmless, but it can absolutely blow up in your life and cause devastation in relationships. And it's something that we didn't have to plant in our life. And so the book is a quick read because, again, as a mother of two, I raised two wonderful children. But I understand how busy and how crazy life is for a mom, for any woman, but especially for moms. And I wanted to write a book that was to the point, quick, easy read, could fit in our purse, and literally could get read within about a week. And that's what this book is. There's not a lot of fluff. It's straight to the point. I am in your face of this is the stuff you're doing to cause yourself
Wow.
more stress.
Sounds like it might even be a good read for guys to get some advice and some tips here too.
It's actually, it's funny you say that. The men that have read the book have come back and said, wow, what a phenomenal insight into what stress my wife puts on herself. I had no idea.
Sure.
The comparison landmine alone, women looking out, on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook and HGTV and all of these things that are showing us that we need to be better at every area of our life. It can be pretty overwhelming and stressful. And the men that have read it have just really said, first of all, we have a lot of these landmines too. Used to
Sure.
do
Oh yeah.
daddy guilt, and
Oh yeah.
they a lot of similarities, but they really, really benefited by understanding how much emotional weight the women in their lives were carrying. And unfortunately, we women, and I talk to women about this all the time, is we've got to communicate better with the men in our life. They can't read our minds.
Mm.
If you need help, they're probably willing to help you with whatever you need help with, instead of walking around angry and hoping, wishing that they would help. All we have to do is open our mouth and ask.
Hmm.
And most of the time, the men in our lives are willing to just help us. So it's a really amazing, amazing book, and I just it's blessing so many women out there, and I'm so excited to get it into the hands of millions of women worldwide, so that they can start protecting their joy.
So
That's really what it's all about.
so an example of mommy guilt is Sherilyn backing out of the driveway at daycare and seeing Lily in the window waving goodbye to her with the sad look on her face. And is that an example?
That is an example.
Yeah, we
And
go through that an awful lot, an awful
yeah,
lot.
and I really kind of detail it all the way, to help women gain a perspective. Let's just look at a few generations ago when our grandmothers had to cook 3 meals from scratch,
Sure.
clean a house without the benefit of vacuum cleaners and cleaning solvents like we have now. They had so much work to do just to clean and care for a home. Laundry without a washer and a dryer. Maybe they had a washing machine, but no dryer, and they had to hang it all up.
Yeah.
Um, Most kids were shooed out of the house. I remember when I was a kid, Saturdays, I was shooed out of the house to go play with my friends while my mom did all the chores in the house. And unfortunately, somehow or another, we've just shifted in just this last generation or two to this kid centric um, society
Yeah.
where if we are not giving our child 100% of our time and attention, we somehow feel like we're letting them down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's not how we were raised in our generation. I didn't even come home until the streetlights came on.
Yeah.
And, I always knew I was loved. I always knew I was provided for. And my mother had no guilt about anything. She was
Sure.
working hard to make sure I had a very secure home. My parents divorced when I was 10, and I still felt very loved. So it's possible. It is possible to raise kids and let them know that they're loved, they're cared for, without beating ourselves bloody with guilt.
Jeez, that's fantastic. Oh
It's
my God. So many
it's
of us need to we need to hear that, and so this is just one chapter in your book, How to Diffuse the Landmines We Plant in Our Lives. We can get this where? Amazon?
Amazon, or actually, probably the easiest is on my website, which is truth.coach, not .com, .coach.
Truth dot
.coach.
coach. Wow. I hope that you'll sneak back on the podcast with us at some point. Again, Kelly, this has been a shot in the arm. Thank you ever so much.
My pleasure, JD. I really appreciate you having me on.
And we'll chat with you again very soon. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Fantastic. Take care.
Wow, what an experience. What great advice. Kelly is an expert on women. If you'd like to get in touch with her, again, truth.coach. Great way to check out more about her book and maybe get in touch with her via email. Life coaching, something that is tremendous. Obviously, a very effective speaker right there. We really appreciate it. Kelly, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with local singer and songwriter Tim Brick, who is a great friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a long, long time, and I look forward to having him on the show. We'll be back in just a little bit. All right, we're back with part 2 tonight of Aired Out. My name is JD Green. Thanks so much, and I do mean that, for checking out the podcast, for subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. We appreciate it all very much. Just got out this past Saturday night and bumped into some folks that had checked out the podcast and enjoyed it. And it just, oh man, that was kind of the first time that I bumped into some folks that were strangers that I heard some positive feedback about the podcast, which just felt great. So I really do mean it when I say I appreciate you tuning in and being part of it. Our sponsors, CBDcrave.com. Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire, Fontaine Forestry and Millworks over in East Montpelier. Mark Fontaine, great guy, and we appreciate him. I'll tell you what, this guy here next to me was one of the first dudes that I said, you know what, if I'm going to do a podcast, I got to have Tim Brick on. Welcome, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
Man, I haven't
Good to
seen
see
you in the longest time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, man.
A few months, 3-4 months, I think.
Couple of months, man. We're running around. You and I are kind of moving targets.
All
really.
the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Once in a while, our flight paths intersect.
Yes, they are today. You know, I haven't had you on the air in a long time, but man, we've had some great times on the morning show and morning radio together. Yep. Now we've got cameras looking at us and people watching us, so
that's okay.
I guess we kind of have to behave a little bit. But let's get caught up, man. I mean,
sure.
Tell everybody where you been, what's going on, and I see some new press pics of you, and you're always writing music, working on new songs, and recording. Constantly.
I'm writing right now for the next album. My last release was what was it? Just Passing Through. It came out in July, I think, of 2017.
Yeah.
God, time flies.
Yeah, it is.
So it's already been out, going on a year and a half, year and 3/4 now. And I'm itching to get back in the studio. I'm starting to write. And me and the band, I got, I think, 2 or 3 that I've been debuting live.
Yeah.
Kind of just getting a litmus test for them, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, they're good.
And
I mean,
you just did a show at the VFW, I think, right?
yeah, up in St. Johnsbury. We played, not the VFW. Well, actually, I did, but that was here in Barre.
790.
Yeah, I'm playing so much, I forget where I'm at.
You are, man. I see it on Facebook.
I try to keep
everywhere.
as busy as I can. It's important because the opportunities up here in Vermont for a musician are limited as it is. So,
Right.
it's kind of a dog-eat-dog thing out there. Everybody's striving to get more and more gigs, and and of course you're always dealing with the changing music business, which now changes. Seems like month to month. It used to be, decade to decade, and then year to year, and now it's just venues are constantly changing, and so it's a challenge. And with that, I'm just trying to stay as busy as I can, basically to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got the full-time job that, of course, most musicians need to have to make ends meet. But
most of them, but I know a few that don't, and I hate them. I don't hate them. It's nice. I'd love to be able to kick my full-time job right down the road and be able to do music full-time. That's always been my dream. To me, that's what makes you a professional when you're doing it full-time.
So your life over the last couple of years, I've lost track here, so you might have to correct me, but
Sure.
Maybe over the last 5 years or so, has been quite turbulent. It's been unpredictable. There's been changes in your life, things that have happened on the outside that have affected you personally and professionally and artistically as a musician.
Oh, for sure.
Real life can definitely, she's understatement here, get in the way. And
oh, definitely. And being a country musician, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
is real life. That's what
it
you
sure
want to
is,
sing
man.
to people about. That's what they connect with, and it's been it's been up and down. That's for sure.
You have an incredible following, and it's something that I have personally observed over the years just pop. Just I think it was 2 years ago that you did the Barre Heritage Festival.
Yeah.
And man, you tore that place to shreds.
That was a good show.
Oh.
I remember looking out at the audience at one point when I was playing.
Right in the
And
park.
we had a
in Barre.
great audience out front of the stage. And then I looked over to my right, and there was a bunch of people there. I looked over to my left. There was a bunch of people there. I looked behind the stage. There was a bunch of people there.
Yeah, man.
And that was a great day. And it's always nice too. The Heritage Festival is always a kind of a highlight for me because that's when most people get to see me here in the hometown.
Sure.
I try not to do it every year because I'm always afraid of burning people out
yeah.
on it. And I think it's important for a festival to have variety.
Yes.
Every year, introduce new artists and other artists.
Saturation is a dangerous thing.
Oh yeah,
dangerous thing.
That's right.
But you I just was chatting with the boys over at Granite City MMA not too long ago.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, Tim Brick," and they were talking about.
I'm still not going to be a ring girl. As much as they want it,
No,
I'm not going to do it. I mean, I got the hair, but come on now.
They were just telling me about your early days before before I got a chance to meet you.
Yeah.
And it was actually
a little different.
I got to say, I give Sherilyn 100% of the credit for our friendship because she introduced you to me.
Yeah.
She was actually a judge at a Battle of the Bands event that was at the Barre Auditorium. Gosh, years ago. I don't know how many years ago. Long time ago. And saw you there. And I think you were just just starting to dabble in country for the first time.
Yeah.
What a shift, though. What was it prior to country? Dare we say?
I used to play. Well, I played in high school. I was in a thrash metal band, and we played a lot of. Well, we wrote our own songs.
Cell Block?
No, this no, this is a band. I don't know if you ever knew about this band. We were such geniuses that we named our band. We were out partying one night, and we were going down this road, and there was a "Children at Play" sign, and then there was a "Dead End" sign. So I don't know who got the idea, but one of us was like, "Let's call it Dead Children at Play."
Oh my God.
So that was, and being high, we didn't care. We wanted to offend people. We wanted to wake them up, and so we wrote our own songs, and we played a lot of stuff like Testament, Megadeth, Metallica. Pantera just hit the scene when I was in high school, so that really, we loved Pantera and Slayer, and then I kind of got out of that, and I went into just kind of more of a rock and roll thing with a band that I had called Black Hills Railroad. It was a trio, and I think I recorded a couple albums with them. It was a home studio stuff really, and then after that, I got back into playing the heavier stuff, and that's when I joined Cell Block One. It was I call it a hardcore band, and we released 3 albums and played all over Massachusetts and Rhode Island, southern New Hampshire, a little bit in New York. It was weird because we couldn't get a gig in Vermont. We'd play. I remember I'd get out of work, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd get out of work and I'd go home, load my gear, and we'd head down to Connecticut, and we'd play, till 11 o'clock at night, get back in the van, drive all the way home all night long. And I'd literally walk into my apartment, and I'd take my stage clothes off, and I'd put my work clothes back on and go back into work. And I would do this for like 3 or 4 days in a row until I was just decimated. And but now that I do country, it's kind of the opposite. I get gigs in Vermont, like all through Vermont, but it's hard for me to get a gig out of Vermont. So it's definitely flipped, and a lot of people that knew me from playing metal and hardcore music, I don't think they really, I don't think they liked me switching, for one. They didn't. I don't know. They probably didn't. They probably doubted its genuinism, if I was really into that, but. I think the ones that were really close to me knew that it was real, because if they knew me and my family, they knew that my father always raised me on country music. He was a truck driver, so he would come off the road every couple weeks or so, and it would be country music. And then my mom was a rock and roll. So while he was on the road, I'd hear rock and roll, AC/DC and Kiss and Aerosmith, and I go through her record collection, and I find all these cool things, except for Peter Frampton. I didn't really latch on to that.
That's where you and I clash, man, because I'm a huge Frampton fan. I
respect him. He's very good, but that Frampton Comes Alive album, I swear to God, that was mailed to every household in America, with probably like some, this will date me, some Calgon.
Come on, man. That does date you, brother. The Frampton Comes Alive is in my car right now. It's in my driver's door.
Yeah.
I never leave home without it.
Well, I guess I just don't feel the way you feel.
Can we still be friends? That was good. So then what, man? I mean, so you actually, back to Dad.
Yeah.
You lost your dad a few years ago.
Yeah.
But you were hugely influenced by your dad in, positive ways and not so positive ways. Yeah. But you've written some music about Dad.
Yeah, I've touched on him a little bit. If you listen to it, I have a song called "That's Country," and I touch on it a little bit about how he was a truck driver, and he's the one that introduced me to country music. And but I'm just now I'm kind of skirting around the edge of the chasm, as I like to think of. Because when I lost my father, it was tough. If you lose anybody, it's tough. But when I came back from Texas, I lost my grandmother like 9 days after I came back, and that was huge in my world, because she was like a mother to me almost. Yeah. And then a year later, I lost my father,
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of just starting to kind of do some writing that tackles that.
Yeah.
I couldn't even
Yeah.
come to terms with it for a
Sure.
long time, and I still have my moments. I'll be going
Yeah.
to work in the morning,
Oh.
all by myself, and there'll be a thought in my head
Yeah.
or something that will just trigger. And
Oh, brother,
but-
man, I get it. I get it, big time.
But he was a huge, probably the biggest influence he had on me was his work ethic. My dad, he had his issues and stuff, as we all do, but he was a hard worker all his life, and I think that my family just generally instilled that in me.
You
gotta work.
You've told me before that a lot of the good decisions that you have felt that you've made in your life have been based on not making the same decisions that your dad has made.
Yeah, because I share some feelings with my father. How I think the wanderlust.
Yeah.
I have that in common with my dad. He always wanted. That's why he loved driving truck long distance. He liked just traveling, but he also liked to drink, and it killed him.
Yeah.
He pretty much lost everything in his life, and over alcohol.
Booze takes it all.
Yeah, because it's just, it gets a hold on you.
Yeah.
And, you might love those people and stuff, but
Sure.
if you're not strong enough, it takes you right down. I always say, drinking starts out as a party,
Yeah.
but then it turns into a party of one at the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
if you let it go too much.
Sure.
And so, seeing that growing up, I might have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
When I play a gig, I might have a beer on stage or something, or
But
after
you always
on break.
keep it always keep it in
But I
check.
never.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the last time I actually let my hair down
Yeah.
and tied one on. It's been probably a couple of years now.
Wow.
At least. But
Wow. So I want to ask you about Texas, but before that, I want to ask you about, as a musician, writing original music, and then writing it and recording it is one thing.
Oh yeah.
But writing original music and then performing it on a stage in front of a live crowd, if I were a songwriter and a performer, that might make me a little nervous to see how well it's received. How has your original music been received in front of a live crowd?
Well, for the most part, they're very good. I read the audience. If I know I got a good rapport with them,
Yeah.
then I'll be like, I'll let them in on the joke that it's my song.
Sure, right.
But if I see the audience is kind of on the fence, I won't tell them it's mine. I'll just play it.
Yeah.
And if they like it, then I'll be like, well, you like that song? That's
Yeah.
good. I wrote that song.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times what I find is when you tell people, especially if you're in a setting of a roadhouse bar, and typically probably a majority of people are there to hear music that they're familiar with, on the radio, covers material.
Sure.
A lot of times when you say, oh, this is an original I wrote, the wall goes right up.
Yeah.
Immediately. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the fact that I think our brains automatically, we judge what we're not familiar with immediately. And you're kind of, I don't know this.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I try to do is all my music, basically, if I wanted to tell anybody about my music, they wouldn't be able to tell what was a cover and what was mine, because
Yes.
whoops, sorry about that. I try to get my music, it's right in line with what I play as far as cover material.
Sure,
Because
right.
I don't do songs I don't like.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get up there and necessarily do everything that makes the audience happy.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit selfish. I like to do what makes me happy too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's that balance. You got to have that balance. I always say that's the difference between an artist and an entertainer, purity-wise. A pure artist doesn't care what the audience wants.
Sure.
They just do what they feel and let it roll. And a pure entertainer will always be striving to please that audience.
Sure.
And I try to go in the middle. I found that most of my life is good through the theme of lying in the middle. You know, a little entertaining, but at the same time, I got to enjoy what I'm doing. And with that being said, a lot of the songs that I do, like Steve Earle, Waylon Jennings, Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, that stuff, you know, I mean, it goes, when you hear my music, it's all influenced by that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had people tell me, they're like, wow, your music fits so good in with all that stuff that you do. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm not going to get up here and play disco and then play you a country rock song. I mean,
I want to, with you together, I want to give a shout out to your friend and my friend, Jack Donovan, and also Pitts Quattrone over at the Radio Vermont group, WDEV. That's a radio station that has really embraced you and has promoted your music and played it on the air regularly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they've played stuff an awful lot that you haven't even known about or
no, I find out actually through people I work with. You know,
how has the media treated you? How have radio stations treated you? This is my show, brother. So
really?
You take it away. You can
don't let me loose.
I'm letting you loose. So, and that's why I'm saying, you know, just you know, air it out.
All right. Well, I'll tell you this. In my opinion, WDEV along with WCVR out of Randolph are probably the two best radio stations in Vermont because they actually support. Bingo! What a genius idea. Local artist. You know, and it's not, they don't just play local artists, they play up, you know, the mainstream stuff too and all that, but they aren't afraid to play a local artist. I mean, that's, you know, and I will say, you know, when you were at Froggy, that was a good station to me. And basically, you know, with you and Mike and, you opened up your arms and welcomed me aboard and stuff, but I'd say that station has really, in my opinion, gone right downhill because I don't think they have as much of a personal connection with the community as they did when you were, because it was live, it was on the hill.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these people don't realize, but you know, what you're listening to in the morning there isn't even in Vermont. They're sitting in a chair in New Hampshire. And they're trying to act like they're so personal, you know. And that's what, you know, I don't like corporate radio like that. And I could care less if corporate radio ever plays my stuff because it's all run on money. It's all money and numbers. Yeah. And so if I got the proper amount of money behind me and my song's hitting the right numbers and all that, I ain't got to worry about it. They're going to play my stuff anyways.
Sure.
Because they virtually have to.
Yep, right.
But there are, you know, that being said, there's also some other corporate, OKL out of Burlington.
Yeah.
Dan Dubonnet is a big supporter of me.
Yes, he is.
He's a great guy.
There's a morning show that's live.
Yeah, and that's what I like. I don't know. We live in a world that's genuinely getting more fake as the days go on.
There are more and more radio stations that are pre-recorded.
Yeah, you know, people think, you know, everything's live. Oh, he's live. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell. You can tell.
Yeah, and that's what I love about DEV because you can tell those guys are coming live over the air, man. Yeah. And it's like radio used to be. You know, DJs used to play albums. They used to be able to have more freedom to play what they wanted.
Tom Petty, the last DJ.
That's right. And now everything's run, but you get your facts in the morning.
Yeah.
With your numbers, and you know, it's just me. It is the music business. I do realize that, and the second word in that is business.
Yeah.
But sometimes business chokes off integrity and artistic merit.
Where the hell has country music gone? What is country music today? What is it?
Well, the stuff you hear up here on radio.
Is it a cornucopia of...
It's crap. It's just crap. I'm going to tell you that right now. I had a guy, I had a great show. I was playing up in Morrisville this past weekend, and this guy comes up, and he's like, do you play Florida Georgia Line? And I just looked at him. I was like, no, I play country music. And he didn't get it. But no, I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like rap being incorporated into my country music. I don't like urban flavor and all that stuff.
You know, the philosophy behind it, and I know you and I have talked about this before, and you understand it, is that
if you write songs lyrically and musically with incorporating rap and other genres into the country music, and you gear that towards a younger demographic, that's the demographic in their 20s and 30s that are out buying cars, buying homes, having babies, spending money, buying music. That's the target demographic that the industry is looking at going after to keep.
Yeah, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I'm not interested in any of that stuff. I'm just not. I mean, it's not real.
I'm just saying,
and the way I look at it is, if you pump enough money behind anything, people will like it.
Yeah.
I mean, Red Solo Cup is a perfect example of that. That's one of the worst written songs I've ever heard in my life. And even Toby Keith agrees with it. He wrote that song as a joke.
Yeah.
But the record company pumps enough money behind it, and it becomes a hit. And then you play it 8, 12 times a day for people.
Sure.
And just get it embedded in their brain like a worm.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, I love Red Solo Cup.
Yeah.
I want to go buy it," even though it's just garbage.
But isn't it remarkable that you've got these Jason Aldean and all these younger artists that are coming out, and they're working the radio, they're working the charts, they're working numbers. Everything's about numbers and business and a revenue stream. You know that. But then out of nowhere comes Chris Stapleton. Just
thank God.
Out of nowhere. And I mean,
and that's the way it was in the 70s.
This is
with outlaw music. It came and pretty much kicked the door in and said, "Hey,
but then
wake up, people."
And then look, you got Timberlake teaming up with Chris Stapleton.
There's a lot of, I mean,
wow.
It's actually kind of weird because I like Chris Stapleton, and I think he brought kind of real music back into country. But there's still a lot of country purists that don't like Stapleton. They don't like the R&B coming in and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I call it's the integrity movement in country music. I've labeled it as, and I include Chris Stapleton in that. But I also include people like Whitey Morgan and Sturgill Simpson, Jason Isabel, Cody Jinks. I mean, these guys, there's real country music out there that's still going on. I found that out when I went to Texas. And these guys are the real deal, and they're bringing it. And they're not on you ain't going to hear Whitey Morgan on the radio. You aren't going to hear Sturgill Simpson. You'll hear him on WDEV. You won't hear Cody Jinks up here on the radio at all. All these things. And actually what I like to do a lot of times in my show is to introduce the audience to these people. I do some Sturgill Simpson in my set. I do some Chris Stapleton. And most of the time I introduce Sturgill Simpson, and it's just crickets. Nobody has ever heard of him. And this guy won the Grammy Award for the Best Country Album 2 years ago. And this is a perfect example of the state of country music today. Sturgill Simpson wins the Grammy Award in 2017, Best Country Album. I think it was a springtime of 2018, the CMA Awards or whatever were going on. You think they'd have the Grammy Award-winning Best Country Act on there? No. So Sturgill Simpson is outside the Nashville Arena or wherever where the award show is going on, and he's what we call busking. He's sitting there with his guitar case open on the street and his acoustic guitar, singing songs. He's got his Grammy Award sitting in his guitar case. And behind him is the in club of country music.
Sure, yeah.
I think they're destroying country music. But it's a natural progression that, because you get like songwriters that were popular in the 80s, like Richard Marx, lives in Nashville now. Yeah. Richard Marx writes a lot of hits for country music people. Yeah. You got these kind of like leftovers from the 80s that moved to Nashville. And I don't know. If anyone's grown up in the 80s and you saw what happened to LA and what the record industry did to that, it's like they ruined that, and so they had to go on to Nashville. And that's why I moved. When I decided to move, I said, to hell with Nashville, I'm going to Texas. Because a lot of people would ask me, why didn't you go to Nashville? And I'm like, have you heard what's coming out of Nashville? I mean, when I stopped on my way to Texas, I stopped in there, and I was on Broadway, and I was walking down the street, and I heard, back when I was in school, there used to be a group called Salt and Pepper, and they had a hit on the radio called Let's talk about sex, baby.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you and me. Well, there was a country band in the bar doing that song.
Oh no.
And I just walked in and I kind of turned my head to the stage and I just was like, shook my head, and I turned around.
No.
Next morning I was on my way to Texas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gonna run down Nashville entirely because Nashville is Music City.
Sure.
There's a lot of good stuff down there. There's a lot of
there
great
is.
people down there, great musicians, and I know I would give anything to have a career where I could be in Nashville recording and
Sure.
meeting studio artists and all this, and
Yeah.
be lovely.
There
great.
is, and we only have about a minute left. There is
sorry.
so
I do
much.
this all
No,
the
no,
time.
no. Hey, tell me how you really feel. That's what I love about you, buddy. No, I'm serious.
I figure I'm 42 years old. I ain't got nothing
Yeah.
to lose. You know,
got nothing to lose.
it's not like Columbia is going to be knocking on my door. Hey, Tim.
Listen, I'm begging you to come back.
I would love
really-
to.
really soon. Okay.
Yeah, because I ain't going to air out a bunch of stuff.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. This is the perfect format for
We
me.
have only just scratched the surface. Not even scratched the
No.
surface. There
Kind of
is-
blown the first layer of dust off.
Yeah, no, we're just warming up. This is the beginning of something that listen. This podcast is going to have stuff that's going to go into this microphone that I could never put into this microphone
Yeah.
at a commercial radio station. And
Well, that's the great thing about it.
That's what I'm so excited about. There is so much more to be said. I want you to come back soon, and I want you to share with our viewers and our listeners what the hell happened in
Texas?
Austin, Texas, and
Sure.
and the fact that you are back here home. Right here in Central Vermont is such a gift to so many of us, and there were
thank you.
so many of us that were so happy that you came back home. We're gonna bring that back on
I'd love to.
part 2 of Tim Brick.
Sure.
All right, buddy.
Congratulations, by the way.
Hey.
This is a very cool thing.
Thank
I'm happy,
you, man.
Happy for you.
I am so excited. Want to thank Abubakar, our producer, and of course Tony Campos and the rest of the team here at CVTV channel 192 and 194, CBDcrave.com, Peak Entertainment of Vermont and New Hampshire, and of course Fontaine Forestry and Millworks, our sponsors. We appreciate it. Make sure to like, to share, to comment. We want to hear what you have to say. And subscribe. Tell your friends about it. It's Aired Out. I'm JD Green. That's Tim Brick. We'll catch you next time.